Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe for your daily astrology, human design, and possibly oracle report. Grab your cup of coffee or tea or water, whatever your pleasure is. Sit back and let's talk a little bit about what's going on for today. As you can see, it's a beautiful day. I mean, look at all the light in my room. It's a gorgeous day. We get sunshine today. I'm excited whenever the sun is out because we don't see it very often, it seems like, at least not in the winter. So good morning, Roseanne. Good morning, Suzanne. It's great to see you both out there this morning. And today I'm going to try, tongue-in-cheek, try to keep the broadcast short. And the reason I would shorten it is because I still am working on putting the finishing touches on the 3 keys to unlocking the power of your human design webinar for this afternoon at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. East Coast time. If you haven't made your purchase yet, you can see the link for the webinar is pinned to the top of the Living Astrology page, and you still have time to go ahead and do that. Even if you can't join us live with it today, the link will still take you to the recording of the broadcast, so you aren't going to miss out on anything. And certainly you can always email me with any questions you have if you don't get to be there live. For those of you that are going to be there live with me today, make sure you have your human design chart with you. And if you are in need of a human design chart, if you can't find yours, please email me. Try to email me before about 2 o'clock so that I can make sure I have time to print that, scan that, and email that to you. All right. So what are we going to talk about today? Because actually, yesterday I kind of packed the day with a lot of the energies that are going on kind of in the background of our days right now. The only real big thing today is the Sun conjunct Uranus, which we talked about quite a bit yesterday. As I look at my list of transits going on today, it's a fairly quiet day with really only the Sun conjunct Uranus and the Moon sextiling Mercury. So it is a decent sort of day today. We might still have some surprises because Sun in conjunct Uranus, as we talked about yesterday, can sometimes bring us some unexpected things. We might have unexpected reactions to other things that are going on. I just want to send, my condolences to the Bush family for the loss of Barbara Bush. She was certainly an icon throughout my lifetime. She's probably one of the first ladies that I really paid attention to in my life, just because of the age I was at the time that she and her husband were in the White House. And anyway, a beautiful lady, and certainly comes as a bit of a shock, even though she was 92 years old. Can you imagine that? 92, what wisdom she had. And I hope she passed that wisdom on to her family and they will pass it on to theirs. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit then today about some human design things. As you might recall from yesterday. Oh, first, before I get into that, I want to talk about the moon today. We came out of the void of course moon at 8 o'clock East Coast time, and 5 a.m. West Coast time, as the moon moved out of Taurus and into Gemini. Yes, Gemini, my favorite position of the moon. And what a perfect day for me to have a webinar going on, right? That when the moon is in Gemini and it is in a good relationship with planet Mercury, the one that represents communication. So hopefully that means technology is smooth, my words come out smoothly, our thoughts are gathered, and that we have a good time at the webinar later on this afternoon. But really the moon in Gemini brings us the ability to really sort of organize our thoughts and our emotions in a way that we can really speak to how we feel. And we may even be able to speak eloquently in a way that we haven't been able to at other times. Gemini ruling the mind tends to be able to, focus us in on what it is that we want to say from our mind's perspective. The moon is aligning us with our hearts and our souls. So what do we want to say from the soul's perspective, and how that all kind of flows in a really powerful way. So we are not being dogged any longer by the void of course moon. We don't have another void of course until the 20th, which is on Friday. And so we are in the clear to maybe get some action running, to get some things done. So going back to what I started to say about human design is I wanted to take a look at Saturn through the gate it is sitting at in human design. And the reason I wanted to do that is because sometimes when we can put words to a concept, like I would say Saturn and its energy is a concept. And yes, there are words associated with it. But when we can take it and we can put it in a concept sort of manner that makes sense to us with words, then perhaps we can understand better the role that the planet is playing for us. I hope that makes sense to people. And where is everybody else this morning? Everybody's so quiet. I know Mimi's busy. She's getting ready to do an art fair, a fabrics, what does she call that? Fiber art fair. So we wish Mimi well. And some of the work that she does is absolutely stunning. You guys, if you ever check out her website, you can see some of the things that she puts out. Not her website, excuse me, her Facebook page. Anyway, so Saturn is sitting at what I consider a most interesting gate right now. And it has been sitting here for quite the while, actually. And I don't know that we've really talked about it. But Saturn is retrograded now, and it's sitting at gate 58, which in human design is called the gate of joy. And it is the energy for joy. And I don't know that I've ever really thought about using Saturn and the word joy in the same sentence. Interesting, right? We think of Saturn as taciturn and stern and disciplinarian and punisher and karma and all kinds of kind of negative connotations. But if you really think about Saturn, what makes Saturn create that kind of energy in our lives? Well, it is when we are getting outside of our boundaries or outside of what it was that our life path or our life mission is, that Saturn kicks in and says, you've strayed too far this way, so I need you to come back this way. And when we can look at it that way, he becomes less of a punisher and more of a guide, right? More of a guide, maybe dare I say this, an older person who is maybe a role model that you would look up to, someone who is maybe involved in tough love kind of things, who will tell you with no bullshit what it is that you're doing wrong and what it is that you need to do in order to get back on the right path. So, even though we want to think of Saturn as being negative and all of that, he really isn't. And remember last week, or maybe it was earlier this week, I don't know, time flies when you're having fun, that I put forward the fact that, Capricorn is actually a sign that Saturn rules, and that Capricorn is a feminine sign. So is Saturn really the energy of the authority of the feminine, the matriarchy, that which pulls us back into alignment with our values? And I think it is a distinct possibility that at the time that there were these mythological gods created that we use to represent the planets, that it's a potential that, because there weren't very many female role models at the time, and it might have been a time where the patriarchy was asserting its power in the world, that there was no female role model they could attach to this person or to this model of behavior. So Saturn is really then maybe somebody that, or an archetypal energy of bringing us back into alignment with our goals and making us live from our values. So in human design speak, what I would say is Saturn at gate 58, which is enacting and reminding us of this energy of joy, is when we are not living from our type, strategy, and authority, the three keys that we're going to be talking about in today's webinar and how they relate to you personally. Then Saturn gives us lessons. right? It enacts perhaps things in our lives, blocks, limits, whatever, to bring us back in and help us focus back in alignment with what our values really are. In the I Ching, oh, by the way, and when you are not living your life according to type, strategy, and authority, you are living at the lower edge frequencies of what's highly possible for you. And we're all there at times. I don't mean, when I say that, I don't want you to think that I'm talking about a hierarchy, because that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the frequency of energies that we have that are available to us to live by. And when we're not living in accordance with the authentic self, our personal authentic self, our personal authority, then we are maybe living at the lower end of the spectrum. And at the very lowest end of the spectrum for this gate is bitterness, right? Bitterness. I can't get my life to do what I want, and I'm, upset about that. And nothing, we end up getting really enmeshed in the victim energy when we are not living at the higher frequency. And the highest frequency is joy. Now I want to show you, I have my little human design charts out for today. So I've got this one at my fingertips. I want to show you where gate 58 is. And it's interesting to me because it is it's right here, the very bottom corner in the root center. It is literally a foundational energy. You would think that joy is an emotion. But here, I think you can see that joy is not an emotion. It is a foundational energy for us as human beings. The gate, or the hexagram, in the I Ching, the gates aren't called gates, they're called hexagrams, but there's a coherence because this particular hexagram is called joyous vitality. So vitality, life, right? Life, living from vitality is bringing us joy. And how we live from vitality is what Saturn at this moment in time is having us structure our lives around. I find that incredible, right? I find it incredible that a planet that I often think of as the stern taskmaster, including the Grim Reaper, by the way, is calling us to joy. And what we see here is that because the gate of joy is a foundational energy, joy is a choice, right? We can choose to live by joy. We can see then that a natural state of beingness, being, not doing, but beingness for us as human beings is joy. Yes, Suzanne, great question. She's asking me to say that again. Joy is not an emotion. If it were, it would be sitting on the emotional solar plexus. Joy is a foundational energy. It is the natural state of being a human being, right? The natural state of being a human is foundational in joy on one side and imagination and creativity on the other side. Interesting, but we're not going to talk about that gate because we're on Saturn, bringing you back to joy. So then let's explore the gene keys a little bit. You're welcome, Suzanne. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, I do see them pop up in front of me. So if you are wondering what we're talking about because you've just joined us, we're talking about the energy of Saturn in human design at gate 58, the gate of joy. And we've also seen in the I Ching that it's called joyous vitality. And so Saturn, because it is a planet of structure and form, it is really compelling us to restructure our lives into beingness in our natural state, which is joyful joyous vitality, whatever you want to call that. So then I wanted to explore what this looks like through the gene keys, because the gene keys, Roseanne says she would like some joy. So let's just all send her the possibility that the frequency of joy can be expanded and explored and excited in her beingness today. All right. So in the gene keys, remember the gene keys are organized in in shadow, in gift as the next highest frequency, and then the siddhi, which is the highest expression of the energy in a particular gate or in a particular gene key. And so at gate 58, the gene key at the lower end is dissatisfaction, right? Dissatisfaction. The gift level of the gene key 58 is vitality. And the highest expression is probably the most elusive state of being on this planet, and it's bliss. And I don't know if any of you have ever reached that state, even for a moment, but I have been there before, and it is an indescribable feeling. And if we could live in that state, wow, what a different world we would be in, right? But I also think it's interesting that joy as a foundational energy is part of a channel. This person does not have that channel defined, but here's gate 58 right here, and it leads us up to the spleen at gate 18. And Roseanne, I know you have this gate 18, sorry, it's right there on this corner, which is called the gate of perfection. And it is then part of the channel where we have joy at one end. Joy is a foundational energy, and the gate of correction or perfection at the other end, forming the channel of judgment or correction. Isn't that fascinating, right? We have this energy that's really all about vitality and living from our place of joy, living from the foundation of our beingness, which is joy, but it's part of a channel of correction. And that brings up the idea that what is the real purpose for our critical, judgmental, corrective energies, right? First of all, it's way down at the bottom of our human design. It isn't attached to the throat where it should be said, right? It's way down at the bottom, meaning it needs to be recognized or asked out of you, invited out of you, before you can actually put your words to telling people where they're out of alignment with joy. Because that's, after all, what this energy is all about. This whole channel is all about the recognition that people with gate 18 have of how we are not in alignment with our own vitality. So the people that have gate 18 are usually ones that have a very critical eye, where they, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, they can literally look into your life and see how it is that you're not living your life according to your type, strategy, and authority, even though those aren't the words they might put to it, right? They can see where others are out of alignment with that foundational energy of joy, which we can also substitute the word vitality in. So unfortunately, though, when the people that have this channel defined or who have gate 18 defined speak out of turn, usually it isn't recognized and valued by the person that they're talking to. So it's very important that people with this energy here recognize that even though you can see exactly what it is that this person needs to return their life to flow, to abundance, to joy, to pleasure, to bliss, to vitality, it isn't up to you to say anything unless you're invited to say it. And it's the hardest thing for the people that carry this channel or this gate 18 naturally. Now, the people that carry gate 58 naturally are also sort of in a conundrum, if you will, because they are here with the energy of joy, right? They are here to live their life from joy, but often it is elusive for them. And here we all are. And I'm bringing this up because guess what? Every one of us, everybody on the planet right now has the planet Saturn at the gate of joy. So this is a lesson for all of us to learn right now, that if you're not feeling joyful in your life, you've gotten bogged down somewhere in some way. And guess who usually pays the biggest price, my friend Lund out there? The projectors. Projectors do, because they're very vulnerable. Right? They have a lot of openness in their charts usually, and that means that they're absorbing the energy from other people, and they can take that energy and amplify it, send it back out. And then they're the ones that find themselves, as Londa says, in the muck, In the muck. I love that. In the muck. I'm going to put that up there. Londa says, in the muck. So that's true, right? When we're not living from joy, we are in the muck. And it's harder and harder for us to get ourselves out of the muck, because then we lose the frequency of that energy of joy, that foundational energy. So if our foundational state, if our natural state is joy, then what keeps us in that lower vibration? What so easily draws us into that lower state of energy? And it's really very simple. And I can sum it up in one word. I feel like I'm playing password. The one word is the future, right? We pull ourselves into thinking about what's going on in the future, the fear or the worry of something that may come to pass but has not yet come to pass. And it takes us out of the now. It's in the now, in the moment of our beingness, that we find joy. And that is the bottom line, right? Joy is in the moment. Yes, Londa. Londa is a very open projector, which we might hear about. If you're part of the webinar today, you'll certainly hear more about projectors. But she's saying she absorbed what was happening on a planetary collective level yesterday. And indeed, that is what the projectors and the reflectors often do. Indeed, it's what we all do through our open centers, right? We absorb everything that's going on, but projectors have a more interesting route with that energy and how they need to work with that energy. So thank you, Londa, for sharing that. And just because you're absorbing some energy, the recognition, the living from your type and your strategy and your authority is that you don't have to let that energy affect you. It informs you for sure, but it doesn't have to affect you. It doesn't have to take you out of your natural state of being, which is joy. And so I'm going to be very, cognizant of this in my own life, right? I'm going to be very absorbed, let's say, in making this. I see my cousin Joanne out there. I think that's you, Joanne. And I'm going to share a card she once sent to me. Yesterday was emotional. Yes, inform. Okay, so here is the card that my cousin Joanne sent me. I don't even know when it was. She date this? 5/13/2014. This is what she sent me. And it says, follow your bliss and the universe will open doors where there were only walls. I keep this, Joanne, right here on my desk, right in front of me. I actually threatened to frame it once, but somehow I like to touch it and I like to be able to interact with this energy, because follow your bliss. Follow what makes you happy. Joy is something that you choose in the moment that you live in the now. Like right here, right this moment, there are lots of things going on in the world. There's lots of potential for irritation out there in the world. There is lots of potential for problems in my own personal life, in your own personal life, but those things haven't happened yet. I am not living them yet. But in this moment right here, sitting here talking with you, I can get blissed out, if you will, because I'm in this moment, right? I'm in this moment. So, maybe I'll turn this into a meme or something and I'll post it on my site and you guys can print it off yourself, because it is so profound. And by the way, this is the saying from Joseph Campbell. I don't know if you can see that down there at the bottom. Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss and the universe will open doors where there were only walls, right? So let this be the time of your life, because Saturn is sitting here for a while. In fact, I was looking through my book and Gemini got sidetracked. I was looking to see how long we were under the influence of gate 58, and all the way through May, all the way through June, all the way until July 25th. Holy moly. And then we move from joy to self-love. Saturn is playing some interesting roles for us, don't you think? Would you have ever thought of talking about Saturn and joy in the same sentence, and then Saturn and self-love in the same sentence? Who knew, right? Who knew? So Saturn is really our friend. I know astrologers often meet Saturn with lots of trepidation. You look at them in a chart and you're like, oh boy, do I really want to tell the person in this chart that, their Saturn is dampening down their ability to have joy, love, and romance. My grandson, who was recently born, has Saturn in his 5th house. So what did I tell his parents? I told his parents to make sure this kid knew what fun was, right? To know what it is to have joy and fun in his life, because those are his lessons. And so wherever Saturn is where the lessons are and where you can get out of alignment with joy, or at least that's the lesson right this moment. All right. Well, I hope I made that clear as mud for everybody. And in the meantime, I wish you all a wonderful day. If you have any questions for me, post them here. I go back after the show is over each day and I answer people's questions or their comments in Facebook. And I hope to see you all this afternoon at 4 o'clock Pacific time and 7 p.m. East Coast time, as we begin a series, let's say, of informational webinars on human design. This one about the 3 keys that can connect you powerfully to who you are designed to be. All right. Until then, I love you all. And I hope you all have a great day. Londa, love you too. Roseanne, love you too. By the way, Roseanne says she has Saturn in the 3rd. So where she can get out of joy is in not communicating, isolating herself, and not continually having a conversation with people. So thank you, Roseanne, for sharing that. All right, everybody, take care. I am going back to work now on putting the webinar finishing touches together, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye for now. Tomorrow morning, by the way, we're going to take on Pluto in retrograde and what that means for all of us. All right. Love you all. Bye-bye.